Today, we're agate hunting on the St. Croix with Eric Benson.
What's this by your foot? It's an agate wannabe.
Exploring the healing benefits of nature with Sarah Holger.
People, when we get them out into nature, they feel like they're returning to their true self.
And learning about Huellas Latinas, a nonprofit that's connecting Spanish-speaking people to outdoor recreation.
People start asking, can I go with you? Can you teach me how to do that?
Welcome to Prairie Sportsman. I'm Brett Amundson. We got a great episode for you, and it starts right now.
Funding for Prairie Sportsman is provided by the Minnesota Environment and Natural Resources Trust Fund, as recommended by the Legislative Citizen Commission on Minnesota Resources, and by Mark and Margaret Yackel-Julien on behalf of Shalom Hill Farm, a retreat and conference center in a prairie setting near Windham, Minnesota, on the web at shalomhillfarm.org.
Eric Benson has spent countless hours fishing the St. Croix River since he moved to the valley 30 years ago.
All right.
But when the fish aren't biting, you might find him on the banks of the river searching for semi-precious stones.
Agates were formed a billion years ago when Minnesota was under a lot of volcanoes, all the way up to Lake Superior, down to Mille Lacs. Then they were brought down and deposited with the ice ages. And you can find Lake Superior agates in Minnesota, Wisconsin, down to Iowa, even Nebraska. You go to stores and you'll see agates like from Madagascar, and they're fairly cheap because they're from Madagascar. They're Lake Superior agates that seem to be worth a lot of money. Not a lot, but better than a lump of coal. I just like looking for them and then just collecting them and making my pile of rocks bigger. I started agate hunting with my friend Kevin Simonette about 7 years ago, and that first summer I didn't find much, but I'd bug the hell out of him saying, is this an agate? Nope, nope. And when I'd go out on my own, I'd bring back tons of rocks that weren't agates. But after the first year, I kind of got an eye for it, and then I just got obsessed with it. So this is 7 years of hiking miles and miles. But it's fun, it's something to do. If I'm not fishing on the river, I'm usually out looking for rocks.
Last summer, we joined Eric for a morning of agate hunting along the St. Croix.
It's just all about looking. And then in the water here, it is pretty clear. They're tough to see in the water, but they are there. There's like 4 feet of rocks that are always nice and clean. As you go out deeper, they're kind of got moss on them. But there's always tons of rocks on the beach. And what's this by your foot? It's an agate wannabe. It's not an agate. Agate wannabe. It's called Leave It Right. Leave it right there. There's the first one. Little guy. You're kind of looking for a reddish, waxy rock. What helps looking at rocks in the water are polarized glasses. Really helps. And then to keep your eyes shaded as much from the sun just makes things pop more. And every time it floods, it just exposes new rocks and stir things around. You just never know. A killer agate could be here anywhere. The water's this high up here, don't even bother. But every time it goes down, just the waves exposes new rocks, brings more debris down from the side. You can tell by these tree roots You know, the soil used to be this high. You know, that's how much it eroded away. So all that's left are the heavy rocks. Better than agate. A lure, add to my collection. My mom always said I could always find stuff if she lost something around the house. I'd always find it. So yeah, we're always looking for stuff. Always got our eyes to the ground. I remember coming here one day, and I swear there was an agate just sitting right on top of a rock. A nice agate. It was like, how did that get there? And how did no one see it? Because I know people walked this. You can see other people's footprints. No way. Whoa. Oh, wow. There it is. I'm glad we walked down this far. That was worth the walk today, that one.
With a trophy agate in tow, we headed to Eric's Stillwater home, which he shares with his wife Eileen. There, he displayed his impressive collection of Lake Superior agates.
I wish these were gold nuggets. I'd be retired a million times over, but they're not. You're actually the first people I've really seen them. Some of my closest friends and family. And these are some of the agates I found in the St. Croix Valley, along the river, out in farm fields, construction sites. This is one of my favorites. I don't know where I found it. This one here, I remember where I found that. It was sticking on top of a plowed furrow, sticking up like a lantern. I have found all these agates in Washington County. Why drive when you got them here? The ones in the pan here is this year's collection that I found so far. I like to go in the spring before, especially in the fields before the crops are up. And then again in late fall after the crop's been picked. And every time the fields get turned over, it seems like there's a new collection of agates to be found. And I do have permission, the fields that I do go to. You don't want to get caught trespassing. Now, if I had access to quarries, I'm sure that'd be the #1 spot to go, but I don't have access to quarries. Other spots to find them are along roads, housing developments, and in landscaping, like landscape rocks, river rocks, especially on older properties. You'd be surprised if you dig around your neighbor's, if he has river rock for landscaping, you will find agates if you look hard enough. This is a cool agate that I found before it got buried in development. It's an eyeball agate. People kind of go crazy after that one there. They're all unusual in a way. Like that one's like a kind of a neat one. It's like a flat tablet type. And the lines weren't really profound until I polished it up really good, and it turned out to be pretty cool. I've taken hammers to them, broken them open, and turned a dull rock into kind of nice ones, you know. It wasn't much of an agate until like this one. That's what it looked like outside, and I split it in half, and that was in the center. That's another one I broke in half. Took a chisel to it, see what's inside, and that's what I found inside that one. This, what they call a water level, because the line's going across. I found this in a field not too far from here. It's been polished down. When you polish agates, you usually lose about 30% of the rock. This is the tumbler that I use to polish the agates. It's a simple tumbler. If you do buy a tumbler, get a good quality one. Don't buy a cheap one because it'll fail on you. There's 4 stages. There's a coarse one, which is the first step. And each cycle takes at least 7 days. And generally, you fill the barrels up 2/3 with rocks. Add your measured grit, and then add water just to cover the rocks. Put the lid on tight, and you just let it spin for about a week. You take them out, clean them real good, clean the barrels real good. Do step 2 for a week. Take them out, clean them up good. And then you're on to step 3, which is a pre-polish. Every step you'll see your rocks get smaller and smaller, but that's all right. I mean, that's just the grit wearing down on the rocks like a million years of being in the dirt to make them nice and shiny. I don't know if polish them devalues them like furniture when you strip the old finish off, but it doesn't matter to me. I just like looking at them and collecting them. And then the final step, you want to make sure your rocks are real clean and add the final step. And after 4 weeks, you'll have some nice polished agates. "30 years of fishing and 7 years of agate hunting. And I hope my knees keep up so I can do both of them until I'm well into my 80s or whatever. I have no idea where I want my collection to go. I got no kids. Maybe you can throw them in the grave with me.
It was a way to be intentional in nature and take that moment to just appreciate it.
We start offering programs for Latino community, and in the process, we learn more about what kind of barriers in this specific target Latino community have.
People, when we get them out into nature, they feel like they're returning to their true self. There's power. There's so much power in it. I think it can change lives.
Sarah Holger says nature saved her life. Years ago, the state park naturalist experienced depression and a divorce.
When my kids would go to their dad's house, I would go to Whitewater State Park and I would sit on this bench by the river. That was my favorite spot. And I would just sit there and I would look at the cliffs, look at the rocks. And I would think about, wow, you know, nature, these rocks have been here for hundreds of millions of years. And I'm just this little speck, you know, on the time scale. I'm lucky if I get 80 years here. And I started thinking, you know what? I don't want to be sitting here crying for those little 80 years that I have. I want to live my life. I want to enjoy life. I want to be happy.
Sarah turned the healing power of nature into a vocation. She founded Project Get Outdoors, a nonprofit after-school program that connects kids to the natural world. Then in 2021, she went through intensive training to become a certified nature and forest therapy guide.
It had a profound impact on me.
Sarah wanted to bring forest therapy to local communities, as she did with Project Go.
How we can get more people certified was the thing, because that's a barrier. It's $4,000, at least through the Association of Nature and Forest Therapy Guides, which is the organization that I went through. And they are an international leader in this training. And then also find candidates who work with youth, work with BIPOC youth, and youth experiencing trauma. This project has been supported by a mix of funders. Most of them are coming from the healthcare realm. We spent about a year recruiting folks. So we reached out to different community organizations, a mix of clinics, mental health organizations, nonprofits that work with youth and underrepresented communities.
11 professionals from Southeast Minnesota and the Twin Cities signed up for a 6-month training course. After completing 125 hours of online coursework, they agreed to lead at least 6 forest bathing walks with youth over the summer.
It is really a powerful way to engage with people. We have some folks who are Spanish speakers and some folks that work with different communities.
One of those cohorts, Luisana Mendez, is a St. Paul civic engineer and the founder of Huellas Latinas, a nonprofit that organizes outdoor activities for Spanish-speaking communities.
I was doing a partnership with Minnesota Parks and Trails. A friend in common, Veronica, she told me, oh, I know Sarah, and she do forest bathing. You know what is forest bathing? I was, what is that? What's me being in the forest for a shower or something like that? We traveled to meet Sarah in Whitewater State Park, and we did the forest bathing. And it was a great experience. Even when it was so new for me, I am always very active, and the forest bathing requires you calm down a little bit. The next year, we partnered again, and we did another forest bathing walk. After that, she offered me the opportunity to become a forest bathing guide, and that changed my life completely and gave me another knowledge and skills I can share with the community.
Besides youth programs, Sarah is introducing forest therapy to the medical community, including the Olmsted Medical Center in Rochester, where she invited physicians on a nature walk.
Forest bathing is a practice that originated in Japan. It started in the 1980s. What we saw at that time in Japan then was a massive shift of people who were living in rural settings moving into the city. So they were losing that connection to the countryside and the nature there. And then also they were becoming more overworked. People were literally working themselves to death. Suicide rates were skyrocketing, all sorts of health problems. And it was to the point where the Japanese government intervened and started looking at prevention strategies. And what they found was the nature-based strategies had the biggest impact. So the idea of using your senses to soak in nature, thus the bathing term. You can adapt forest bathing in so many different ways. So if we would have had people in wheelchairs today, we maybe wouldn't have even moved. We might have stayed under the gazebo the whole time. So we're gonna be doing some slow activities where we use our different senses to just immerse in the nature that is around us. We usually do a series of like 4 or 5 invitations where I invite them to do a sensory activity. We take 15, 20 minutes for each activity. After each activity, we gather together and share what we're noticing. It takes a while for our minds to kind of just transition and let go and just be present.
I found it very stressful because of that reason, like we're walking so slow. I know this group of people and I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I doing to these people? I took a deep breath and I was like, we're okay, we are fine. We are all learning. We had a certified nurse midwife. We had a certified nurse practitioner who specializes in women's health. We had our family medicine physician. We also had our OBGYN physicians that were there. Being an obstetrician gynecologist, it's a wild career that we have all chosen. At any given moment, I could be doing a delivery, I could be doing a cesarean section, I could be going through a really hard time with a pregnancy loss, I could be seeing a 60-year-old woman talking about what is happening to her body. We're very focused and driven on taking care of our patients, and sometimes when we're trying to take care of our patients, maybe we don't do the best job of taking care of ourselves.
I have worked at Olmsted Medical Center for several years, just right across the street, and I had no idea that this space even existed before today. It's very peaceful here. This is my first time forest bathing. I wasn't really sure what to expect today. Really kind of embracing that sensory experience was really interesting.
I thought it was really great. It was a way to be intentional in nature and take that moment to just appreciate it. I felt very calming, relaxed afterward.
I definitely see us trying to figure out how to integrate this into our practice, especially here in the Women's Health Pavilion.
The Minnesota Department of Health also recognizes the importance of nature in promoting mental health.
Trauma really is stored in our bodies, and when we ground ourselves and access all of our senses, it can help us to feel grounded and create that experience of mindfulness. And that's what forest therapy can help us practice and experience. MDH was able to sponsor several people to complete their forest therapy certification. They were people mostly from BIPOC communities who had some connection to children and youth. We know kids who are connected to nature, they're healthier, they're happier, they're more focused, they do better in school. They're champions for the natural world.
It's healing for everybody, and it's a great experience. I hear stories about people who feel lonely, who don't have friends, and they coming how difficult it is to make friends in a new place. And they found in Huellas Latinas a safe place to become a new friend or make new friends.
Luisana Mendez founded the nonprofit Huellas Latinas in 2021 to connect Latinx communities to the outdoors. When she immigrated to Minnesota from Venezuela 6 years ago, she found the familiarity of nature helped her feel at home.
In Venezuela, I grew up in a very beautiful state surrounding mountains, in the Andes mountain. And my father, actually, he is a forest engineer. Since I am a child, I remember my father talking about the importance of the tree, the flowers, the nature, the environment. In Venezuela, I get my bachelor degree in civil engineer and my master degree in urban planning. The political and social situation pushed many of Venezuelans go out from home. I have to learn new things, like how dress properly and how to take the bus, the proper way to interact with the police. That many things look like basic for people who live and grow out here, but very new for immigrants. I found the nature my passion, and I just attached to the nature to living this process in a healthy way, and now I feel I belong here, and this is my new home. I start making research about hiking, the hiking skills, different hiking skills, and I found a different challenge, and I signed up for the challenge.
Luisana signed up for a 52 hike challenge, one hike a week for a year.
52 challenges in a year looks like impossible to me to achieve. So I just start going to the park, learning in the process. When I come to the park, like on winter, I never hike in the winter. I learn the trail change the use.
On your left, excuse us, coming through.
When I come and try to walk, the skis come and pass and say, get out the way, and I get lost and I don't know what to do. And all that kind of things give me the sense, the lack of information, immigrants or Latinos or people who never do this kind of activity before have. And I start share that with my friends, and I start share with the community and social media too. People start asking, can I go with you? Can you teach me how to do that? I feel scared, I don't want to go to the parks alone. I work for the City of St. Paul in the Public Works Department in the Traffic Engineering Division. I am engineering technique too. For 2 years, I worked very hard with different kind of park agencies like Dakota County or St. Paul Parks Recreation. We start offering programs for Latino community, and in the process, we learn more about what kind of barriers in this specific target Latino community have in order to visit the park. In Venezuela, I have a project called Jueves de Ciudad, or City Thursday, when I promote the sense of belonging in the city. For me, it's the same feeling like, hey, now you have a new home. It's not just, go to school or go to work or be a robot. You can also know where you live, and with the sense you know where you live, you will naturally develop the sense of belonging. Don't just live in a place, be part of it. No solo vivas en el lugar, sé parte de él. So I decided to become a nonprofit, call for board members, and make the transition. My experience with Huellas Latinas, I meet people who live in Minnesota for more than 20 years, more than 50 years, and they never visit the parks. They never know how to explore the lakes because they don't have the information is only in English, or because they don't know if the park is safe, if they have to pay. Another thing they share, they feel they don't belong. It's just a perception, and our role is building a bridge between parks and people and the community, and also change perspective, share with the community. Everybody is welcome in any place. Through Huellas Latinas, we have, in general, like 4 programs. One of the programs is more for beginners, when we introduce people with nature, like walks, and this kind of walk is a short walk, easy walk.
Last summer, we joined Luisana at Lebanon Hills Regional Park, one of her favorite places for introducing Spanish-speaking people to nature hikes.
This is the first time I can know that we have a lot of parks in Minnesota. I'm here for almost 25 years. I start learning about the nature and learning about how you can take care of the nature, and that's how they can help you to be more healthy. And I bring my kids too. They love to be around the nature and be outside instead of inside.
Me gusta estar en la naturaleza, conocer más gente y estar involucrada en algo que me gusta con la comunidad. Que a veces no nos tomamos ese tiempo para entrar en contacto directo con la naturaleza, con los árboles, con el agua, con las flores, incluso con los animales más pequeños. Y esa experiencia te lleva a reconectar con todos.
The other program is a little more challenge, and we bring people for camping and backpacking and get the experience in multiple days, so it's a little more immersion in nature. For a camping trip, we usually have more than 30 people, between 30 and 40 people. We offer all the equipment. People don't have to have the equipment or any knowledge. It's for beginners. After that, families get their own equipment and ask me for more camping trips because now they have the equipment. The third program is more about mindfulness. In this program, we offer forest bathing, the combination between hike and yoga. And the last program is more about the adventures based in the season of the year. So, for example, if we are in winter time, we do cross-country ski, snowshoes. But if we are during the summer, we kayak or canoe, or fishing. All our activities is most of the time in Spanish. It's for all age, for families in general, and depending on the activity, they can bring pets too. The participants from different countries, Argentina and Chile, Mexico and Salvador, Honduras, Venezuela, Colombia, Peru. We have mixed families, and everybody is welcome. We just say people, hey, don't worry, you want to learn Spanish, you want to practice your Spanish, or you want to learn about our culture, so everybody is welcome. I feel myself lucky with the people I meet here, with the institutions I work here, and everything was doing very good for me in my personal development, professional development, and in this new style, become an immigrant. I want to pay back with myself, with the community, all the good things I received. That is the important for me.
Funding for Prairie Sportsmen is provided by the Minnesota Environment and Natural Resources Trust Fund, as recommended by the Legislative Citizen Commission on Minnesota Resources, and by Mark and Margaret Yackel-Julien on behalf of Shalom Hill Farm, a retreat and conference center in a prairie setting near Windham, Minnesota, on the web at shalomhillfarm.org.